Haha, Dieter. And Reichwein. And... Oh. Yeah. Hiding in the attic, eh? I bet it tastes that much better, right? Yeah, but look at him, yeah. Yeah, he's on a really specific path. Tenma's army, eh? Yeah.
彼が警察に在職中、連続殺人犯の少年を射殺した事件。その新聞記事を私が見ていたら、ディーターが撃たれた少年の顔写真を見ていったんです。
Stefan Hughes.
511キンダーハイム。東ベルリンにあった孤児院です。極めて特殊な。
Notorious.
ディーターの里親はそこの元教官で、当時の子供たちの写真を大量に保管していたんです。その孤児院がどうかしたのか。ヨハンもそこにいたんです。
That and so much more.
あの少年とヨハンが関係あるっていうのかね。わかりません。そのあたりを詳しく調べたいと思っていた矢先に。
But now Richard is dead. How about it?
墓地でリハルトさんの墓の前にいるあなたを見かけて。リハルトが、あいつがあんたを私のところへ連れてきたようなもんだな。だが、もうあんたは一人じゃない。あんたの無実は証明される。ヨハンはすぐ目の前にいるんだ。写真を、なんてこった。事務所に置いてきちまった。
Of course.
あんたにヨハンの写真を見せればすべてわかるのに。おそらく。あなたを殺しに来た。
Big man.
処分しちまったろうな。
Goddamn Roberto. Hesse.
ヨハンは目の前にいる。
Yeah.
ということは会える。ということですね。うん。直接会える。ヨハンに。
There's a bit of a disconnect here, right? Though, of course, it's also by design as well. You know, Reichwein made it clear, you know, his intentions in all of this clear because he just believes those are Tenma's intentions as well, right? To prove his innocence. Tenma is on a different path, right? And he kind of spoke on that in the conversation, right? He didn't want to get Dr. Gillen mixed up in all of this. Tenma's looking a little detached from everything. Again, by design, right? Good opening. Good opening. It's like a relaxed opening as a first episode back. Chapter 31 in broad daylight, eh? Again, catching Tenma up. This is information that I have as an audience member, but Tenma doesn't. This is new stuff, though. Oh, great shot. Ever since then, huh? Ooh. Ooh, that theme. Okay. I see Carl, but... How about the assistant? Hello, Johan. The first time his eyes kind of lit up, right? Signs of life. That's him, Sensei. Again, I've seen him in broad daylight, but he hasn't.
今しかない。ああ、君の無実を晴らすのは今しかない。
He keeps going on and on about the innocence aspect. Tenma's not interested in getting exonerated. Again. Herzog. Bruno Gans. Oh, wow. I gotta come back to that. Film references. I love it. In broad daylight, in plain sight, in the public's eye. Oh, okay, back to this.
リヒャルトと一緒にいた男がヨハンであることを証明できる。もしできなくても、シューバルトの子供だと名乗り出て自殺したファーレンという学生。
Yep, catching them up, okay.
彼と連れ立って売春婦のところへ行った青年がヨハンであるかどうかは、その売春婦を見つけ出せば立証する。
I love how Dieter's just sitting there listening to all this.
今現在ヨハンの両親と称している夫婦の過去を洗えばヨハンが何者かわかる。
See, this is practical information, stuff I know, but he doesn't. That too. He's really underestimating Johan. But you can't blame him. He doesn't know him like that. He doesn't know him like Tenma.
だがあんたは一人じゃない。ディータもいる。そしてドクター・ギーレンも。
And you.
私もいるんだ。
It's nice, but he's on a lonely path by choice. Oh, okay, is he he's an intelligent fellow. He should be putting it together at this point, yeah? That might be it. It has to be now. He put it together. It's an anime thing of, you know, the glasses, you can't see through to the eyes. It's great to be back, man. Reichwein. Okay. Yeah, these are intelligent people, right? In their fields, so yeah, it makes sense that they almost immediately put it together. Not immediately, but... Oh, and he's got a backpack. Ooh. Lonely path. Hey, Dr. Tenma. Wow, he's locking in. In broad daylight. You know, it's as if Johan is actually taunting Tenma openly in broad daylight, in plain sight, hiding in plain sight. Oh, Dita. Yeah. Prison. Is that who I think it is? Oh. Dr. Gillen, yeah, that's his tape recorder and the setting I've seen before. Lunge, you son of a bitch. How the hell are you? Okay. Ooh, it's not recording. Careful, Gillen. Subarashi. Ooh. So there is an element of respect there. The clicking? Yeah, he's quite thorough. Ah, the heart. Instead of the mind. Puts it right out there.
それが何か
Hold strong, Gillen. It's a tough customer across you at on the table there.
デュッセルドルフ大学時代、あなたの同期で非常に優秀な脳外科医がいましたね。
Gillen knows by now.
言いたいんですか
Yeah.
会えましたか、ドクター・テンマン。カンニングの思い出を語り合うルーディ。あなたは全州の有力新聞に5月1日から22日までの間、
He's thorough.
産業広告を載せていらっしゃる。驚きましたね。まさかあなたやドクター・テンマみたいな優秀な方々が学生時代にカンニングをされていたなんていいものですな、親友というのは。
別にドクター・テンマとは学生時代親友だったわけではない。
昨年の5月、オーデル公園、あなたの協力でフェルバート警察はドクター・テンマを包囲し、拘束寸前まで行ったが取り逃がした。あなたの
Oof. Just puts it out there.
彼はドクター・テンマは無実だ。
Did Gillen just kind of take the bait?
謙虚な気持ちで聞いてほしい。
But
デュッセルドルフ・アイスラー記念病院の院長以下3名の殺人。
yeah, I remember
建
those.
設中のビルで起きた患者の殺人。ハイデルベルクでの殺人。
All right.
ドイツ各州で起きた中年夫婦殺人。これらすべて犯人は天馬ではない。犯罪心理学者として天馬と直接面接した私の出した結論だ。
His take on Lungi should be fascinating as a psychologist.
今なぜ彼は逃げるんです。無実ならなぜ逃げるんです。
逃げたんじゃない。
ではなぜ親友のあなたの
Look at that again. He's
姿を消したんですか。
almost trying to get a confirmation.
彼が犯人ではないという証拠がある。これを見るといい。
Look at that face.
この事件の情報をすべてまとめて分析した。
Careful, careful. Yeah, it's not recording. Off the record. That's just the nature of this, I suppose.
それですべて分かってもらえましたか。
ええ。シューバルトの息子を語ったファーレンという青年の兵士。事件を調査していたリハルト・ブラウンという元刑事の兵士。大富豪シューバルトの隠し子騒動。
This is his recorder, essentially. Interesting setup there.
中心にいるのはある一人の青年。その名は天馬が取り調べ中。真犯人として挙げた名と同じ。
You just got a lot of new information as well.
しかも同姓同名のヨハン・リーベル
Go on, Gillen.
の墓石がブルンタールで発見された。さらには先日、
おう
リハルト・ブラウン氏の後を受けて調査を始めたドクター・ライヒワインは何者かに狙われた。無理ですよ。これらが関連した事件であるということを立証するのは不可能です。
His recorder is a physical, tangible,
一番よく
objective
知ってい
thing.
るからこそ天馬は行方をくらました。
Gillen's, that is.
違いますか。
And his system is a bit different. Only he can access it.
あなたのその手の動き。
Yes.
お気になさらないでください。
No, do pay attention to that.
記憶術の道具でしてね。
心理学者の私に言わせれば、あなたの不安な心がその手に現れているように見えますね。
Immediately psychoanalyzes
そ
him.
うです。手の代わりにこのカセットレコーダー。ただ
Ah.
し、このテープに記録された音はあくまで客観です。ところが、あなたの手の動きが記憶した情
Ah.
報は
And his is objective, yeah.
あなたの主観が入ってくる。
But again, there's a bit of nuance there as well.
ずっとそうやって仕事をこなしてきた
Oh, he can read him like a
記憶
book?
は正しい。あなたの判断はすべて間違いないと。あなた、家庭はありますか？趣味は何ですか？仕事だけに生きてきたんじゃありませんか？ミスを
Spot on.
犯したことはありますか？ミスを犯すのがひどく怖いんじゃありませんか？あなたにとって天馬は悪人でなくては
He's
な
got
ら
to
な
be
い。
the killer, right?
でないと、あなたのアイデンティティが崩壊してしまうんだ。
Look at this.
事実を見つめなさい。これがヨハン・リーベルト本人の写真です。これらすべてが天馬の嘘だと立証できますか？
Let's see. Let's see. Wow, that's oh, love that scene. It's good that someone's challenging Lungi.
この青年は今どこに。
ミュンヘン大学の学生です。今はシューバルトの秘書に収まっています。
この写真
No.
お預かりしてもよろしいですかな。
I don't know. I don't know, Gillen. Maybe you should take it
これ
back.
は我々警察の仕事です。私は大変なミスを犯していたかもしれない。ドクター天馬は今
Careful, careful, Gillen. The Lungi I know.
ミュンヘンにいるはずです。
He gave it up. I mean, he gave it up by saying that Johan's in Munich. By association, Tenma must be there as well, right? If he's after him. But this kind of confirmed it anyways. He baited him. This is not the type of person who just changes overnight.
ああ、ルンゲだ。ミュンヘン警察に連絡を取れ。緊急配備の要請だ。
Four?
天馬は身元にしないに。
God damn it. But it's still exciting. It puts him in the same playground now as Johan as well. In addition to Tenma.
何の話かさっぱりわからねえな。
Sniper rifle, precise.
決戦の山荘のハイトマイヤー氏から電話があったはずだ。
One shot, one kill.
1万マルク。
If you can pull the
用意
trigger.
してある。
It's quite a bridge to cross, Dr. Tenma, but he's actively going there now.
それまでその生白い体の
Yeah, sniper rifle. Yeah.
大枚はたいていい道具揃えたって使いこなせなきゃ宝の持ち腐れだ。
Electronics fair. A gathering, eh? Oof. Yeah, Johan.
今回のレセプションにはこの20年間公の場に全く姿を現さなかったハンス・ゲオルグ・シューバルト氏が出席し満場の拍手を浴びました。
In broad daylight, eh?
車椅子での登場でしたが顔色は良く内外の政財界人にその
Financial
権力をアピール
leaders.
しました
Ah. Look at that. Johan rubbing shoulders with the elites. By design, but look at that. It's as if he can actually, I don't know, look at Tenma through the screen. Okay, episode 31, Monster, back at it. Yeah, that ending. It's a great ending, isn't it? You know, even there, it just kind of feels like Johan is taunting Dr. Tenma, right? Because, you know, of course, Johan must know. Of course, he knows that Tenma is around, and there's a really good chance that Tenma is, you know, seeing him in, you know, different places, especially that he is in the public's eye, right? In broad daylight, hidden in plain sight. All of that, it's all by design, right? He, you know, I think he is also openly taunting Tenma as well. And, you know, it's also essentially him saying, here I am, right? Here I am. You know, he's giving Tenma that target. But yeah, you know, even in that final moment, as you know, it gives us a tight shot of Johan, you know, that handsome face, the beautiful face. Yet essentially, it's this thing out of a nightmare for many people, including Tenma, right? Johan, that is. But yeah, you know, the tight shot of Johan on the television set. Yeah, right there. I thought it's by design that, you know, it feels like he's leering through the screen, you know, just looking at Tenma. I mean, you know, Tenma's going to be doing a lot of Johan watching really, really soon because at this point, you know, it's essentially the stage is set. Johan himself is actually just providing the staging for all of it, right? Now Tenma is committed, completely committed to acquiring a sniper rifle. I mean, he is getting it essentially at this point. And, you know, the thing is, Johan is so, I don't know, he's got eyes in all places, right? That's been established 31 episodes in. He must know, right? He simply must know that, okay, a sniper rifle has been acquired here in Munich, right? Somehow it must get to him, you know, through the channels, through, again, the eyes. He's got all over the places. Most likely, again, you cannot forget the presence of someone like Roberto, right? He's always lurking, always lurking. So you always have to think about it. I'm sure he'll show up soon enough, once again, you know, especially once Tenma is really actively in the field, actually pointing that thing at Johan. I mean, the whole purpose is to keep an eye on him, get a good shot on him, and then execute, right? But again, acquiring a sniper rifle, right, is one thing. But once you have that person, right, in your sights, locked in, it's a different thing altogether, pulling that trigger. And, you know, I do believe that, you know, as resolved as Tenma appears to be at this point, yeah, it is going to give him pause, right? the crazy thing about Johan is that, listen, he must know anytime he's in the open that Tenma might be actually watching him. And the crazy thing about this is that there's a strong possibility that Johan might actually know that he's being watched, actively being watched through a sniper rifle, right? Tenma being on the other end of it. But then again, you've got Roberto, you can't forget about him, right? He'll probably come into play. But, this thing I'm saying about, having the sniper rifle is one thing, and then actually pointing it at someone and being inches from pulling that trigger, right, after setting it up. But it's really quite precise. It's really quite definitive. One shot, one kill. As long as, of course, you line up your shot effectively, right? He'll need a bit of practice, of course. Unless, I don't know, the guy who's about to sell it to him, he made a point that, okay, you kind of have to get ready for this. Take care of yourself, essentially, right? And I thought something happened to the subs there. It looked like it's about to say something else, that it should say something else, and it's just kind of cut off and it moves on. It cuts to the next scene. So I don't know. Maybe, I'll look at the dub to see if there is any more dialogue after that, because it looks like it got cut off. Like, the guy is about to say something, but it's not the biggest, I don't know, omission, I suppose. I get the point. The point is clear. But of course, there's quite a difference between a handgun and a sniper rifle. Essentially, this is the point the guy's also making. You have to be prepared for this. He's noticed that Tenma's looking kind of frail and checked out, not really all in, right? Listen, if you're acquiring a sniper rifle, this guy, he's been around clearly, so he's seeing, okay, this guy wants a sniper rifle. This guy, he doesn't look like he can handle it. He doesn't look like he could actually, use it in that capacity. Again, he doesn't know everything that Tenma's been through, but, just first appearances and all of that, right? Looking at it from his perspective, looking at Tenma sitting there, looking really quite, I don't know, again, checked out and out of it. And like I said earlier, a lot of it appears to be by design, right? He doesn't want any attachments. He doesn't want to bring anyone down, doesn't want to drag anyone in. Again, of course, he sends Dieter to Reichwein's house. And it's great to see Reichwein. I mean, it's great to see all of these faces, man. Tenma, Dieter. I saw Roberto in a flashback. I saw Carl. Of course, I saw Johan twice, more than twice even. Getting to see Tenma, getting to see Johan again. And like I said, that's one of the few times, or one of the only times really, there's signs of life, right? His eyes just kind of, it's impossible not to have a reaction to that, right? Seeing Johan, especially because this is the first time he's seen him in broad daylight. And again, it's by design, right? Johan understands that, Tenma's going to have eyes on him. Maybe not at all times, but there's a good chance that any given time, there is a possibility that Tenma might be looking at me, right? So I think Johan is going to be behaving accordingly in the upcoming episodes. And, on that front, in terms of one of the most jarring things or possibilities or predictions I can make at this point, is that, it's not out of the realm of possibility that if at some point in the next few episodes, Tenma has him locked in, he's got Johan, within his sights. And, it's a sniper rifle, so it's going to be up close, right? He'll be looking at Johan up close. It's completely possible that Johan, understanding that maybe he is within that eye line at the moment of a sniper, he could look right in that direction. I could see Johan doing something like that, right? And I say that because something like that could really, really get a reaction out of Tenma, right? Something like that could make you panic. And, Johan, I've seen for 31 episodes now, I mean, yes, he hasn't been around for all 31 episodes, but I've seen or heard and just experienced enough of Johan, the individual, to know that, he's always up to something. He's always in the know. He's always in control, even if it seems like there's an opening there. So, you see Reichwein is really, he is underestimating Johan, right? Because at one point it's beginning to feel like it's so on the nose, and Reichwein just keeps, just hammering that point home. Yeah, he's right here, broad daylight. This is it. They'll get him and they'll prove Tenma's innocence. He'll be exonerated. Tenma is after no such thing. And it's a really practical approach to have both Reichwein and Gillen arrive at the same conclusion that, okay, something's off. And he doesn't appear to actually, want to prove his innocence. He's after something else. And then, of course, Dita pretty much confirms it as well, right, for Reichwein. So at this point, I think it's safe to say that our Dr. Tenma is as locked in, as committed as he's ever been up until this point to taking a life, right? Johan being that potential life. But again, it's quite a bridge to cross to pull that trigger. I'm expecting Tenma to struggle, and rightfully so. And listen, it's still in the 30s, early 30s. There's quite a few episodes to go, right? So of course he's not just going to snipe Johan, but the setup is there for exciting, dynamic moments, right? A lot can come out of this. There's a setup for this massive fair and all of that. Again, the staging is set. Johan is providing that as well for Tenma, like I said earlier. So there's possibilities here, openings here for things to go wrong as well, because ultimately it's moved on to an assassination at this point, right? Rather than gunning someone down with a handgun. Right? Again, it's precise, it's definitive, it takes a bit of setup. You need to actually, get in the right positions. And I'm sure, Roberto might come into play as well. But yeah, in terms of Johan being by Schubert's side as his assistant, as his right-hand man and all of that, you really kind of get to see the scope of it now, right? The grand scope of it. Like I said, he's out here rubbing shoulders with titans of industry at this point, political figures, I believe, just influential people, and perhaps even world leaders as well, right? So yeah, he's doing his thing. You see, the profits and all of that as or reports of profits going up exponentially and all of that. It's because of Johan, essentially, him coming into the picture. Reichwein said as much as well to Tenma in the car as they're scoping them out. And, this whole idea of him, rubbing shoulders and all of that, it's all by design, of course. He took the right steps to put himself in this position. It clearly took some time, but he's here now, right? And those are the perks that comes with the territory. Being the right-hand man of one of the most influential people in Europe, Schubert, right? So it really truly feels like, it's all according to Johan's plan. It's always been all according to Johan's plan, hasn't it? This goddamn handsome devil. But the episode itself, I'd say, is actually a really good episode to come back to, right? It didn't feel like I'm right back into the deep end almost immediately, but there's still enough exciting, enticing stuff here. I'd say the standout moment of the episode is actually Lunge and Dr. Galen, that encounter. The back and forth and the shifting dynamics throughout that conversation, it's gripping stuff, compelling stuff. And, like I said, I loved it that someone is actually challenging Lungi, actively, openly. And this is someone that is, again, a professional, right? A respected person in that field, right? So, from Lungi's perspective, even if, he seems so stubborn and all of that, he has some semblance of respect. He understands that this is an accomplished psychologist. He said that he read his book. It's magnificent and all of that. So a part of Lungi, it must get through to him, right? Even him openly saying, even though, of course, it's just to kind of bait Dr. Gillen, him saying that he may have made a mistake, there's still something there. There's got to be something there. Listen, people like Lungi, I've seen, these types of characters, sooner or later, my expectation of this character arc is that at some point he's going to find himself kind of, caving in, crumbling internally, right? His internal logic and all of that. At some point he is going to find himself having to face all of that, right? That everything he's known about himself and that he's believed, it's just going to crumble within. The walls are going to cave in at some point, right? And I think it's just exciting setup there. But I'll come right back to this. Let me just kind of finish up my point about this being the right type of episode, the perfect type of episode really to come back to. Though, I am still quite excitable about the whole thing. Of course, it's not a secret or anything. I've been gone for some time now, and I'm incredibly excited to be back. I think that's the thing that matters most. I am back now. But of course, that type of break, you kind of lose a bit of steam. You lose a bit of that connection, that momentum, right? Now, I didn't really get a chance to actually do a rewatch of the first 30 episodes, but, I'm still planning on doing that. Or at least, maybe the last 5 or 6 episodes, right? But I think it's still fresh enough. I suppose you can be the judge of that, but I feel like I kind of got right back into it. I was able to almost immediately dial back in, right? And I think that's just a sign of a good story, of a good show, that you can do that it can pull you right back in. I felt that, that's my feeling on the matter. I felt engaged. I was happy to see these characters. You saw the smile on my face. Even Lunge, he shows up, his pasty, pale face. I saw that chin, and even him. It's exciting to see these characters again, in these dynamics at play again. And the funny thing is, even the beginning of this episode, or I'd say a decent chunk of this episode, is actually Reichwein trying to get Tenma caught up. Right? And he's telling him information that he knows, and I know as an audience member, but Tenma doesn't, right? So it makes practical sense to get Tenma caught up. And for me, it actually kind of functions as a great reminder as well of some of the details. I mean, sometimes things are just perfect, aren't they? Because this really is the perfect episode to come back to. I love it, man. It's like, the anime itself is telling me, hey, you've been gone for a bit, but let's get right back into it. Let's ease you in. And of course, right from the beginning, you see that aspect of Tenma's army. These people that really truly care about Tenma, right? Dr. Gillen, Dita, of course. You've got Reichwein. These are people that care about his identity. They care about his life, proving his innocence. These are people who care about his soul. But at this point in time, even though Reichwein believes, this is the perfect time to have all these friends, Tenma's actually approaching it as the opposite. He's trying to keep them all out of this, right? Like I said, I think on a few occasions, right, because it felt like that, again, that he's on a lonely path, a path that he decided that only he can take. He cannot have anyone else mix in with this, because the choice he's making here, or has made here for some time now, it's a definitive one to go after Johan in that capacity, to eliminate Johan. But yeah, let's go back to that really fantastic scene, Dr. Gillen and Lunge. As Lunge kind of meets a bit of his match, for a bit at least, because ultimately, Gillen kind of folds, he slips up, he takes the bait, he kind of buys into it, that, the evidence that he presented actually did something. Now listen, of course, the evidence itself, you can look at it from a few different perspectives, right? There's some really good stuff in there. There is. But the thing is, Lunge, yeah, he's had his mind made up for a long time at this point. I saw that tenacity, that dedication back in the early 20s, I believe, 21, 22, episode 22, maybe 23, just how far he's willing to go. But, up until this point, it's been essentially up to me as an audience member to analyze Lunge, right? Try to pick apart this really, really fascinating character, person. But now you've got someone that's, within the story itself, someone really quite accomplished and respected in that field, who immediately just kind of, picks him apart. He's able to read him like a book. He psychoanalyzes him almost immediately, right? He puts it together. He understands. He only needed that one conversation to really actually nail Lunge's character and his approach, right? Be it his method, his process, his record, and this really legitimate possibility of confirmation bias being at play for someone like him. Lunge's, or Lunge, I'm back at it, I suppose. But yeah, Lunge's obsession, right? That he can be quite dedicated to a fault. He can be quite stubborn because he simply must be right. He's got to be right. At this point, he's so locked in. Any other openings, they do not matter. Because ultimately, it's as simple as, it's Tenma. But, like I said, even if, Gillen kind of took the bait and gave up the location, and he kind of gave it up earlier as well by giving him the location of Johan as well, right? Because again, if Johan is in Munich, Tenma must be in Munich as well, right? You expect someone like Lunge to put that together anyways. But, Gillen actually just confirms Tenma being in Munich as well. But the point is, that puts him in the same playground now, right? Yes, he's after Tenma, but It puts him really close to Johan as well, and he's got a photo of Johan. He'll be holding on to that. A part of me thought maybe Gillen has to be careful here. He might actually destroy evidence, but then almost immediately you see his actions. He puts all of the dossier back down. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, Lungi perhaps isn't that type of person that he's going to destroy evidence just because it might, clash with his own findings. That's how much he believes in his own stuff. He looked at all of that. The dossier, it's thorough. It's impressive. A lot of time goes into it, of course. But he looks at it and he tells him straight up, listen, this is, it's nearly impossible to actually connect all of this, right? And that even Tenma must have understood this. But, the fact of the matter is, at this point in time, Lunge is completely locked in and he simply has to prove that he's right. And as Dr. Gillen is psychoanalyzing him, he gets to that one point and he says something really quite significant, right? Something that's possibly really quite damning as well, Are you horribly afraid of making a mistake, right? And this is followed up by him asking the question, have you ever made a mistake, right? Because, of course, from Dr. Gillen's perspective, he's got a clear read on this man, right, and how he functions. But even more of a damning assessment is the follow-up to that. To you, Tenma must be the killer. He simply has to be. He needs Tenma to be the killer, right? Lunge, that is, at this point. Because if he's not, your identity will be destroyed. And that's the point I made a little bit earlier. This is the type of character arc that I could see the walls just crumbling at some point for Lunge. Right? But, it's an exciting character to have in this ensemble because I'm expecting some really interesting things out of Lunge. At some point, he is going to have to face the reality that indeed he's so wrong about this, right? Then the things that come after that, how he possibly reacts to that, that's, going to be really quite fascinating. But I thought the dichotomy of the two, or between the two, again, both really capable and impressive individuals, Lunge and Dr. Gillen. So, for Lunge, he said that, his method of investigation is to dive into the criminal's heart, right? So, their emotions, their motives, driven by their emotions, I suppose, from the heart. He likes to channel that. Dr. Gillen, of course, in his professional capacity, is in the business or in the field of analyzing their minds, the criminal mind, right? Psychoanalyzing that, the methods, the history, right? Lunge spoke of, that bit about childhood trauma playing a major role in how people turn out, how some of these people turn out. And that includes things like, their upbringing and, their relationship with their parents and all of that. And, a lot of these things, who do they apply to, right? They apply to our Johan, and his childhood, his really devastating childhood. Kinderheim 511 is brought up again earlier in the episode. Stefan Jus used to be there as well. And of course, Dr. Gillen's tape recorder, it's not the first time it's been featured. It's been around for a couple of episodes now, right? I really like that approach. That's his method. Again, tangible. It's a physical, tangible, objective thing that can be accessed by anyone, right? It's a record. It's an actual accessible record for anyone, right? Objective in that sense, right? But again, you can be subjective about objective information as well, right? If that makes sense. In that sense, you can kind of say that Lunge objectively interprets subjective memory, right, at its core, essentially. And you can maybe kind of say that Rudy might be a little bit prone to subjectively interpret objective tape recordings. But again, even looking at all the evidence that's being presented and has been presented to Lunge up until this point, yes, it's a bit different for us, the audience, in comparison to Lunge. It's still a bit of a tough sell, right? A lot of it is. And here, again, this tough sell is actually coming from someone that is sympathetic to Tenma's cause, someone that has a connection to Tenma, right? So again, Lunge is even more closed off to it, right? Because listen, you see at one point Gillen tells him that, in his professional opinion, after he assessed Tenma one-on-one, again, there's no third party there. And as far as I know, there's no recording of it, right? So he's going on about how, there's this objective, tangible tape recorder, right? But in this specific case, there's no recording for that, right? Not that, it would have made a difference to Lunga, but I'm just kind of bringing that up, right? That even then, it's kind of like a selective thing, isn't it? Making the choice to hit record. But yeah, the whole scene is just fantastic. It really is. The whole episode is just a lot of conversations, and it's just so engaging, isn't it? It's good stuff, man. Good stuff to come back to. But fantastic scene, of course. I'd say it's one of the best moments of the anime, for me at least. Top moments, that scene. But to end it off, I kind of want to focus a bit on the Easter eggs that I saw, right? Herzog on the shelf. You've got Bruno Ganz, you've got an actress from Paris, Texas, and you've got the director from Paris, Texas, and also the director of other films such as Wings of Desire. But it's great. It's great to see these film references continue. There's been a few earlier on, but it's great to see that. And listen, it's not just simple Easter eggs. The films that some of these people have made, be it Bruno Ganz and Wings of Desire, Downfall, right? Nosferatu. And of course, you've got Herzog and everything he's done. Yeah. The only one I didn't really quite recognize is Wolfgang Becker. That's the one I'll have to look up. I feel like maybe once I look him up, something might actually stick out to me. Maybe one of his projects or something. But yeah, the name itself didn't really quite ring a bell. But the other names, yeah, and these are really specific ones as well, right? Now, I'm not trying to, potentially spoil anything, so I'm not really going into the themes of these films, be it Paris, Texas, Wings of Desire, Downfall. Downfall, I think, it's pretty, it's pretty clear, right? But yeah, some of this other stuff, even Nosferatu, Bruno Ganz, that is his role in that, and the things he's facing in that film. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff, because all it needed was those inserts, those names to be there, right? And us, the audience, can draw so much from it, right? By actually taking a look at those films and the themes of those films and how they connect and relate to the character arcs and the themes of this anime. It's good stuff, man. Urasawa. Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, I think I'll end it off there, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in early access or full opacity or even timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. And yeah, that should do it. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.